Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, I'm asking the big question. Is it too late for President Biden to try to save America from herself? This is based on a speech that he gave at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina yesterday, where he identified the real problem that is suffering from. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, we're going to talk about, is the U.S. supporting the complete destruction of Gaza? I'm going to be checking in with Pastor Wendell Griffin to give us the latest around this situation. And I'm going to share with you what Israeli leaders had to say about this idea of ethnic cleansing. Yeah, that's the place that we're at in this war. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also later, we'll talk about Jonathan Majors, how he's speaking out in his ABC interview, and what the court of public opinion has to say. And later, getting your mind and body right for the new year, checking in with Dr. Catherine Toomer. Stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the process and the conversations. And happy Tuesday, folks. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. But first, let me just share that we are streaming on a number of different platforms. Make sure you go to our home platform first, blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app. Follow us on social media under Black Star Network. And please drop something in the bucket for us as we are having these important conversations about what's going on in the culture and all around the world. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, you can check us out on Amazon using your Fire TV. We're there. We're also on Amazon Prime Video. You can find us on the Prime Video app, Live TV, the news, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, Live TV, the news as well. We're on the Freevee network, where you can find us on now under news, and we're also on Flex TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network or find us under Live TV, the news and opinions. Also, folks, we are streaming on social media. Find us on Roland Martin's Facebook page, find us on Roland Martin's YouTube page. A big shout out to the online culture crew that's checking in from the X platform. Y'all are on the X platform. Y'all are on the Facebook platform. So I appreciate that. And of course, my folks on the YouTube chat that's checking in as always. So big shout out to Pastor Damon Blissett. Hey, Kings and Queen. Peace, Pastor. Good to connect with you once again. Deidre Hall, I see you. Tiana, I see you. Marcy Jones, I see you. The ABX girl, I see you. McCole Spicer, thank you so much for that. That message on Instagram. I got you, Nicole. Thank you for checking in. Jawan, Yvette, thank you for checking in as always. Real Brooklyn, I see it. I see you. What it do, y'all? Will it do, Real Brooklyn? Janelle Fields, I see you. Donna McAdoo Kelly, blessings to the crew. Blessings to you too, Donna. And thank you so much for joining us. Folks, let's have this discussion. This is the first part. I'm not expecting to come to any serious or any definitive conclusions as we have this first part of the conversation, which is why I'm asking, is it? I'm going to keep pressing this, and I think this might be my question for 2024, seeing how the spirit moves me. But is it too late for President Biden to try to save America from herself? Now you say, well, that is a major question for Roger. Why are you putting this question out there? Because I feel like based upon where we are in the culture, based upon where the politics of this country is going, that we're in a very, 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 very special, unique, and critical time in this country. And something that came up as I was checking out President Biden in his speech at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina yesterday, was that his ability to get right to the key source of the problem that America has been running from. And this is very interesting. It is very, very interesting. And as I was preparing for the show, folks, just to kind of give you some context for this, for while I was preparing for the show today and thinking about, well, how do we have this conversation? it dawned on me. I said, man, President Biden is in a very, very unique position as president of the United States and as a older white man in America who has seen all of the quote unquote the evolution and the progress and all of the changes that we have gone through. And it is something that at this point in time in his life, his presidency, and in our country's history, we are facing some very, very critical moments. We have to make some very important decisions as we move forward in 2024, 2025, and further on. But check this out. I was thinking about this because the president came out and said it at Mother Emanuel Church. Now, it's hard not to address the big elephant of the room. Here's the church that is the tragic scene of what happened in 2015, where those 9 Black parishioners were gunned down and massacred while in church, while in praying by a white male, white supremacist, right? So the president said this yesterday. Take a look at this. He said on Monday, he delivered these remarks at the historic Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, where 9 Black parishioners, including the church's pastor, State Senator Clemente C. Pinckney, were tragically murdered by a white supremacist gunman in 2015. The president said the racist shooting had no place in America and is a remnant of the poison of white supremacy that has haunted the nation for too long. Now, here's why I think this is significant. I've not heard any U.S. president use the term white supremacy and spell it out and call it out for what it is. And something that even us as Black folks in this country, we know that this is a problem. We often talk about this when you're in political circles, whether you're in activist circles. You know, and I know that the root of all of the issues come from this idea of white supremacy, where white people have seen themselves greater, more supreme, and anyone else falls in the line of inferiority. Of course, that means Black folks, right? And in this particular piece, when he mentioned that, and I thought to myself, I said, well, we have been running away just from the terminology, just from using the simple term of white supremacy. I haven't heard it from President Clinton. I haven't heard it from any other president, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Carter. No one has ever. I don't even think President Obama even mentioned white supremacy, right? Because there were a lot. And I think that the thing that is most powerful about the President Joe Biden and President Obama having these two conversations, having this particular conversation, is that it's almost expected for Black people in this country to say that the problem is white supremacy. It's almost expected. If you don't recognize that as a Black person in this country, you know, that is sort of like the first steps of becoming quote unquote conscious. That's like consciousness class 101, white supremacy, to identify not just the mentality, but the legacies of the mentality as it expresses itself in systems and institutions, right? So white supremacy, being able to call it by name, being able to say it. And we have a president now that has come out to say white supremacy, even though there have been some of the big criticisms of President Biden, has been that he has been a part of that thinking. He has helped to advocate that thinking for years. But now in his golden years and as president of the United States, being able to say this is a problem, white supremacy is a problem. It is a poison in America. Now, before we take a first pause, I want us to think about this. If President Obama would have said white supremacy, it'd be one thing. As a Black man, it's understood, it's expected. But for an older white male of President Biden's experience, his history, his politics, and to get to this place to say, this is white supremacy, folks. This is a problem in America. This is why we can't move forward. Now that carries a different level of significance. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to get your take on this. Post your comments as we're streaming live on Roland Martin's YouTube page, Roland Martin's Facebook page. What's your take on this? And I'm asking the question, folks. I got to ask this question because I feel like this is probably going to be a question that's going to underscore all the big discussions about race and politics in this country. Is it too late for President Biden to try to save America from herself? This is a problem. Can President Biden do it? Stay with me. The conversation continues on the other side with the culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we are talking about President Biden and yesterday's visit down to Charleston, South Carolina, where he visited Mother Emanuel AME Church, And this was the church where, of course, those 9 Black parishioners were gunned down by white supremacist Dylann Roof back in 2015. Now, the president used this opportunity to talk about democracy. He talked about race relations, but he keyed in on something that he started already, which was this idea of white supremacy. And Samantha Borich, welcome to the chat. You said he said it during his State of the Union address. And you know what he did? And to keep driving the point home, and I think this is the part of why we're asking the question, is it too late for President Biden to try to save America from herself? Because this is a point that white America has not fully understood or truly examined, right? The onus of responsibility has often been placed on us as Black folks, but we are the recipients of white supremacy. We are the burden bearers of white supremacy, right? We are at the we're the ones that are being oppressed and terrorized by white supremacy. So it is not just us speaking out against this very thing that is holding us back. It has to be something that white America has to confront, has to accept, and has to change. Y'all with me on this, crew? White America has to confront this. They got to confront this. You got to accept this. You got to see it in all of the systems and institutions and policies and cultures and attitudes that people have. We have to confront it. We have to accept it. And then the responsibility is to change it, which is why Monkey Confessions, and I appreciate you, man. Welcome back to the chat. You talk about, you ask this question. You say, okay, but mention white supremacy. So where are the policy at? Low bar. You got to remember, look how long it took to get to this place. I don't want you to just, I don't want any one of us to not keep this in mind, that if out of every president, even quote unquote, they, you know, remember back in the day, folks used to say Clinton was the quote unquote black president, right? Y'all remember that? But out of every president, not being able to identify what the problem is, not putting it out there, and not continuing to jam on the point of this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, right? So to your point, Monkey Confessions, and asking, well, where are the policies at, right? See, this is now, that's where the president knows, and I think he really does know that you can't just put it out there without having a response to this major, major point and this major, major hurdle that has held millions of black people and even brown folks, millions of people back, and has debilitated. This is the Achilles heel of this country: racism, white supremacy. It seeps its way into every single aspect of our lives in some way, shape, or form. Racism and white supremacy. So we're at a critical point. Now, will he say it, keep saying it? Well, guess what? We're also confronted by the fact that this country has forces within it coming from its own citizens. This is not folks outside of us, folks. These are people that we go to work with, that we go to school with, that we live next to. There are individuals in this country who are actually fighting against this idea that America needs to address white supremacy. And we know some of these folks. We live with some of these folks. We cohabitate in the same spaces as some of these folks. So now the president understands. I think he's starting to get it now, right? As they say. I think he's starting to understand, like, you have to do something about this. Now, what does that look like? And I think that's where we come into the conversation. That's where we come into the process. What does that look like? And it's not just talking about policy. Or it's just not just talking about opening up a business. Those are all well and good. But I'm saying fundamentally, I'm saying the mentality, the mindset is what we're trying to get at. Benny Hill, you said, but what are we supposed to do about homegrown terrorism and nationalism? Again, if you see, look at, of course, you know this, Benny, and I appreciate you, man, for checking in. You know that all of this homegrown terrorism is coming from, as we have been playing the commercial for Brother Roland's book, it comes from a space of white rage. It comes from a space of white hatred, and it comes from a space of white supremacy. Because who are the homegrown terrorists? Who are the domestic terrorists in this country? According to the FBI, according to what we have been reading and the incidents of mass shootings, that's not black men, it's not black women, it's white males. White males are the terrorists, are the new domestic terrorists of this country. Now, some of you might not like that information, but just look at the reports. Just look at do your research on this. That what we're looking at here. So you're right, and I think many of us understand the situation, that we want the president to now be more vigilant in addressing this issue. The biggest part of this issue is what we're seeing coming from Trump and his camp, and how they were trying to push the narrative of everything, of retelling the story. We know that the president called out South Carolina, former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, for not acknowledging slavery. Let's not act like this is small stuff here. Let's not act like this is small stuff. Do you know how long it has taken America to even put the words together, such as white and supremacy together? Do you know how long it has taken America to even recognize that there is institutional systematic slavery? I'm just bringing our attention to the wins, the little progress. And I get it. We're expecting big dramatic changes, but sometimes the change in language, the recognition of a situation will open the door to the bigger actions, bigger changes. All right, let me go here. Brian Christian, you said President Biden and Vice President Harris should start a 12-step program to deal with America's racism. First is saying America is racist. Come on, man. Come on, Brian. Welcome again to the chat, bro. Good to connect with you. Come on, man. Look how long. Look, if it wasn't such a problem, why is it hard to teach it? If it's not a problem, if this is something that America has fully addressed and has been able to learn from, then why is it even hard to even recognize it in the schools? If that's the case, then you should be able to say slavery, enslaved people. You should be able to say white supremacy is the root of the systems of this country. You should be able to say, as you said, Brian, America is racist. Even after having a president serve 2 terms in this country, we're still seeing racism at an all-out high according to the data and the statistics. America is racist. And we can't act as if that is not a reality in this country. We may want to believe something. We may want to even hope something. But is that the reality of the country that we're living in? Okay. Let's go back. Monkey Confessions, you said, meaning no policy for the Black community. Don't expect anything from the co-author of the 94 Quran bill. Well, if that's the case, then we have to figure out a different plan of action. And this is not a conversation about whether Biden is, this is not about him individually. I'm looking at Biden serving as in the role of president of the United States. I'm looking at Biden not as a person. I'm looking at him in terms of what he represents, the office that he represents. And if the office of the presidency of the United States is finally coming to some understanding of what's going on in this country, then I think that there is change on the horizon. As the great Sam Cooke said, a change is coming. Something is happening in this country, folks. The ideas, the sentiments, the attitudes of white supremacy is slowly falling apart in this country each and every day. Each and every day. All right, here we go. Here we go. Let's go back to you. Frankie, you said, Faraji, sorry that the white man has beaten on you. Well, he's beating on everybody. I don't know what you mean by that comment, but if he's beating on any Black person, he's beating on me. It's not about me individually. I'm a part of a people, Frankie. So he's beating on everybody. I don't care if it's somebody down the street from me, he's beating on me. So we're at that point in this country. We're at that point in this country, and we have to see it. And we could try to act like this is small. We could try to act like, well, you know, this is not enough. This is not enough. And that's fine. And I get that. And trust me, I truly understand that. I truly understand it. But this president is in a very critical juncture in this country where he has to figure out how to save America from herself. And he got to figure out how to save America from the nations abroad. And the question that Black America has to ask is, what are we going to do? How are we responding to these changes? And how we're going to move forward with these changes, considering these changes. Now we can act like we can still live in the 1960s or 1970s. Some of those strategies and tactics that our brothers and sisters used back then could be applied today. But we need to come up with a different plan, a different action. In 2024, which is considered to be the most critical year of any presidential history, of any country's history, of any election history, how are we moving forward in 2024 that is going to render us justice and get us further along, not just for 24, but for 25 and 26 and 27, 28. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So how are we going to move forward? And I'm saying in mass, not individually, in mass. Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's bring in our very special guest, Pastor Wendell Griffin. We're going to talk a little bit about Gaza and the latest with that situation and continue to use this as the underlying question for that conversation. Stay with me. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. I want to bring up my first guest. He is a retired state judge, and he is a speaker. He's an activist, and he's author of the book, Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. He has been seen here on the show numerous times, and we always appreciate what he brings to the conversation. My brother, Pastor Wendell Griffin. Pastor, good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Good afternoon and Happy New Year to you, brother Faraji. How you be?
Oh, I'm good by the grace of the God, and Happy New Year to you too, Pastor. I wanted to kick off this conversation because we're asking the big question. And, you know, I started off the show talking about Biden. Can he save America from itself, right? From herself. And that's a big conversation. And I know as a pastor, you can probably point out in the, I'm sure that you can point out in the Bible where America is. Some people has went as far as to say that she is the quote unquote modern day Babylon of this time, while others say that America is certainly in the books. But looking at that question, I don't know if you want to even jump in a little bit, share your thoughts about that question of how can Biden save herself, because he's finally getting to a place of saying what the problem what we always known to be, racism and white supremacy. The question is going to be on him and his administration, and more importantly, I think more so on white America than any other group of people in this country. What are you going to do about it? What's your take on that very quickly, Pastor?
Brother Faraj, is a good question. I think the question needs to include, can Biden be saved?
Okay.
Because you cannot save other people if you are lost. And Joe Biden has been lost for much of his years. By the time you get to be his age and you're just now figuring out that America has a white supremacy problem, you have been lost. It's sort of like somebody just figuring out after they've been standing around a basketball court that the ball is round. Joe Biden talking about white supremacy while he is funding the genocide of a darker skinned people in Gaza, killing 23,000 of them in 90 days, is, while he goes to Mother Emanuel and talking about white supremacy, that's okay, but white supremacy is a global issue, and the United States is the biggest oppressor.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
The United States has been doing this for the last 400 years. Started out with the indigenous people of the society,
right?
Then Africans. It did it with the Latinos, Asian Pacific Islanders. We're seeing it happening in the genocide. I mean, that's genocide of the Palestinian people. The United States bankrolls Israel, which is the last apartheid society, and we've done so for the last 75 years. Proudly, and Joe Biden has been principal cheerleader for it. So it's one thing for him to go to South Carolina and talk about white supremacy, but we still can't get him to stop bombing mosques and churches. I mean, how do you go to a black church that is the site of a terrorism and talk about white supremacy when you are funding a nation that's blowing up people in church? People in Gaza have been blown up in their churches. Some of the oldest churches in the world, dating back to the 4th century of this millennium, have been blown up by the Israelis in the last 90 days. And so I think we have to be very, very astute that when Joe Biden goes to Mother Emanuel Church on the 8th day of January, the week before the Martin Luther King holiday, to kick off his reelection campaign, that's all Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden is basically trying to play to the cameras. And I love it. Instead of engaging the folks who are talking about ceasefire, he says, I understand their passion. No, we don't want you to understand the passion. Understand the principle that you cannot blow up people. You cannot blow up people and then talk about democracy in a church where people have been murdered.
Let me just jump in there very quickly, and I think that's to the point. And I'm going to ask my team to pull up the clip of where President Biden was given his speech at Mother Emanuel, and he was interrupted by some protesters. But here's the part about this. Here is the part about this, Pastor, that I kind of keyed in on very quickly. Then we're going to take another quick pause.
Okay.
what the situation is in Gaza and Israel is becoming so out of control. And I'm thinking, here's a man, like you said, he gotta address this white supremacy, this racism that we all experience, and I'm saying as Black folks experience in this country every day in this country, right? And then on the other side, he's got to figure out, like, do we stop the support of a country that is doing so much damage? Folks, if you don't know that what we saw from the Hamas attack on October the 7th, they say was the single bloodiest day of slaughter of Jews since the Jewish Holocaust, since the Holocaust. Now, 1,400 lives were killed. As a result of that attack, over 20,000 Palestinians have been killed. Over 20,000, something I've seen as high 23 and 24,000.
Yeah.
So you have nearly 25,000 Palestinians have killed. Now, here's the thing very quickly, then we're going to take this break. I read the op-ed from the Washington Post, Pastor.
Yeah.
This op-ed that was written by Ishan Tharoor. Israeli calls for Gaza's ethnic cleansing are only getting louder. And with the writer of this op-ed, and folks, y'all should check it out. Again, this is an op-ed in the Washington Post. But this is something that, here's the first quote that I pulled from this op-ed. Take a look at this, folks. At least let's put this on there, and then we're going to take a quick pause. Let's go to the first one. Let's go to the other one. There we go. Thank you. Members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing coalition have called for the dropping of a nuclear bomb on a densely populated Gaza, the total annihilation of the territory as a mark of retribution and the immiseration of its people to the point that they have no choice but to abandon their homeland. This writer is pulling out the receipts, Pastor. We're going to take a quick pause. We're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, I'm going to talk more about this. But they have gone so far. And that's why we're asking this question as we talk about President Biden. We asking the question, is the U.S. supporting the complete destruction of Gaza? We got to talk about this because, folks, when you learn about what's in the mindset of Israelis leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu and others, it will certainly make you think. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. I am joined by Pastor Wendell Griffin, retired state judge, author of the book Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith, as we're talking about the latest developments in this war between Israel and Hamas. And more importantly, is the U.S. supporting the complete destruction of Gaza? As we're looking at, based upon some of the recent reports and the writings of those who have been on the ground there, how they're showing and it's seeing that this level of retribution, I'm gonna use that term, Pastor, but this level of aggression that we're seeing coming from the Israeli government under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And I don't want to get into some trivial, well, my pain is greater than your pain type of conversation. Because I think that the loss of human life, of anybody's life, under this context is sad and unfortunate.
Right.
But the fact is that we're seeing more. We've seen 23,000 Palestinians, those who have inhabited the Gaza Strip, lives have been taken. And it doesn't look like the Israeli government is trying to let it back down. I was just reading, and I didn't get a chance to read the full article today, but they was talking about Secretary of State Antony Blinken is trying to make a deal. And even Biden himself said that they're trying to figure out how to bring back, encourage and convince the Israelis to bring back the forces and to stop as much bombing on this situation, because this is getting to be, and it's not getting to be, it's at a human rights crisis that we're seeing, Pastor. Talk to me. What's your take on this, especially when you have members of Prime Ministers Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition who are saying that they are even considering dropping a nuclear bomb on the area. And they have Israel has the nuclear capacity to do it. They are talking about dropping a nuclear bomb on the Gaza Strip to aid in the total annihilation. And this is the question that I'm asking the Jewish communities, the Jewish people of America, who feel like that there is some sort of sentiment that's saying, oh, we hate you, we hate you. Is this what you want us to sign up for? The total annihilation of the people by the Israeli government. Is that what you're asking us to support?
Yeah. Brother Faraji, you nailed it. We're talking about disproportionality. And let's be very clear. We deplore, we condemn the killing of civilians and people who were mutilated and killed in October 7. But you cannot justify the massacre of a whole population in the 91 days after October 7 just because of what happened on October 7. There are laws South Africa has done it. South Africa has filed a petition in the International Court of Justice charging Israel with genocide in Gaza. Genocide is the massacre, the extermination of a large population of people. And under all 5 categories, there are 5 categories. I'm not going to get into the weeds on it, but there are 5 categories, and all 5 of them, Farazi, all 5 of them have been committed by Israel in Gaza, massacring people, preventing pregnancies, shutting down ways of keeping people alive, making the nation uninhabitable, trying to run people off their land. All of these conditions are going on now, and it's happening. This is live streamed. We're not having to read about it. We're seeing it in real now. And they are massacring photojournalists, Arab journalists who are doing the good, hard work of reporting this have been targeted. Now, I say this. You can't talk about, if you're the United States or if you're Joe Biden or you're Anthony Blinken, getting Israel to pull things back if you're constantly giving them more bullets. You can't stop somebody from drunk driving if you suddenly pouring whiskey down them and giving them the keys to the car.
Come on, Pastor.
I mean, that's just crazy. You can't stop an arsonist by giving them matches, giving them a fire, a lighter, and tell them, you go burn this house, go burn that house, go, and we're going to keep you going. No, that's insane. And we are not, used to tell lawyers, I wear a t-shirt, but it doesn't have Boo-Boo the Fool on it. We are not fools.
Come on.
We're not fools. The world is watching the United States doing this. Israel could not do this if the United States had not vetoed a ceasefire twice. How many babies would still be alive if the United States had simply said, yes, we're going to have a ceasefire? And Israel, if you don't go along with it, guess what? We're shutting off all the money.
Right.
All the money. How much money? $3.8 billion a year plus $14 billion that Biden just told him about when he flew over there and hugged Benjamin Netanyahu in the tarmac, plus another $100 million that he wanted to give for ammunition that he went around Congress, was supposed to get permission from Congress to give it, but $100 million for more ammunition. This is the kind of stuff that's going on, which is why I wasn't really impressed with him going to Mother Emanuel, because I know the whole deal.
And I'm so happy, Pastor, that you are able to kind of open up that picture. And I think this is why we need to have this conversation to show the whole deal, to show the big picture of the situation, right? And to show the hypocrisy and the complexity of this situation. Now, Real Brooklyn, you said, so now we feel sorry for Palestine when African nations such as Sierra Leone, Rwanda, Darfur, Sudan, and other nations have been dealing with this for years. What am I missing? What am I talking about with Africa? As he talks about these African nations. But you don't like my music, responded. The main reason is because those African civil wars weren't as geopolitically important / powerful as the Middle East. And I think that is, we can go back and forth and say, well, whose war and whose conflict should be considered of greater significance versus another. But Pastor, I want you to at least kind of, from your vantage point, give us some insight as to, is this a good way for us to look at this geopolitical situation that we're in, that as we talk about this among Black folks say, well, what about Africa? What about this part? And what about that? Why are we worrying about this? You've talked about this before, but I wanted to kind of nip this situation in the bud and give us some insight.
The whole world is interconnected, and Dr. King said that so well. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. King talked about the interconnectedness of all humanity, and he always talked about whatever was going on in our society also had to be looked at in terms of Africa, in terms of South America, Central America, in terms of Asia. We talk about these things, and we cannot isolate one area to the exclusion of everything else. We have to understand, and I need to make sure I say this the right way, because there's a Rastafarian term that if I say it the wrong way, folks think I'm cussing. There's a Rastafarian term that rhymes with systems, but it has an SH on the front of it. Did you catch me?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Rastafarian, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It rhymes with systems, but it has an SH on it. And we have these SH systems, okay, that are generated by the United States and all these formerly colonial powers. What's going on in Sierra Leone and in Congo and in Darfur are the results of the consequences of colonial powers that were running those countries after World War II and have still kept their fingers in the mess, in making mess there, because remember that Africa is the most mineral rich continent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of the colonial powers wants to exploit the minerals, but they don't want the Black African leaders and their people to benefit from the wealth that is in their ground. And so they keep those forces fighting, just like our society has done with Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti is not poor because Haitians are unindustrious. Haiti is poor because the United States and France have for almost 200 years been actively involved.
That's right.
In messing with Haiti. And if we don't understand this as part of the white supremacy that Joe Biden says he's concerned about, but never does anything about, when Emmanuel Macron came to the United States last year, he was not confronted about Haiti, and Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron did not talk about Haiti. And let's be clear, Black folks didn't demand it either.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's get to this other part. Let's get to this other part, Pastor, from the same Washington Post op-ed talking about Gaza and Gaza's the great concern and the call from Israel to embark upon an ethnic cleansing. I'm using that term, right? Because we want to, language is important.
Yeah.
But they want to, and they are serious about annihilating the people of the West Bank. They said, yes, sir.
I like to put people to understand this. What we are seeing Israel talking about is the equivalent of us funding a nation that is run like the KKK. And it is going to run all of the people out of Mississippi who are Black. It's going to bomb Black buildings and Black schools and Black churches. It's going to poison the water Black folks drink, because the white folks in Mississippi don't want to live around Black folks. And we don't have enough strength in our society to say that Israel, which calls itself a democracy, is the greatest hypocrite in the world when it tries to lay the Holocaust guilt on the world, because the people who are running Israel are the children and grandchildren of the Holocaust survivors, but they are replicating the very evils that their ancestors suffered. And we don't have enough courage to say, how dare you? How dare you do to these people what was done to you and claim innocence? You're going to blame the Nazis for doing what they did, and you're going to replicate what the Nazis did to the Palestinians. And let's be clear, What Israel is doing in Gaza in the last 90 days is what Israel has been doing in Palestine for the last 75 years. And Joe Biden has been part of that for 40 years. Remember, Joe Biden was chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for part of his career. Joe Biden has been part of this. Joe Biden calls himself a Zionist. And I say this because when we do not connect these dots, our sisters and brothers in Africa and in Latin America and in the South America and Central America, in Asia, in Africa, wonder, hey, do we not get it? Because the disease that they are suffering is a disease that we are voting for. We're gonna have folks voting for Joe Biden, believing that Joe Biden is their savior, when Joe Biden is blowing up babies in Gaza who are brown, and Joe Biden is not doing anything about poison water in Jackson, Mississippi. Hello?
Pastor, I gotta stop it right here, but we still got a lot to unpack. Got to bring you back on. We'll continue the conversation. Pastor Wendell Griffin, retired state judge, pastor, author of the book that y'all should definitely check out. The book is called Parables, Politics, and Prophetic Faith. And Pastor, we truly appreciate your time today. Thank you, brother, and good to see you once again.
Have a good King holiday, and tell folks to read some of Dr. King stuff besides the I Have a Dream speech.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Pastor. Talk to you soon, brother.
Peace and love,
folks.
brother.
Peace and love. We got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to check in, switch the gears on the conversation as we talk about all these race things and all these things happening in the world. Let's talk about something at home. Let's talk about the Jonathan Majors case, how he spoke out and how the court of public opinion responded. Stay with us. That conversation's up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in as we're streaming live on Black Star Network, our home platform. So make sure you go to our home platform today, download the app, follow us on social media. And certainly we ask for you to just put something in the bucket to support the work that we're doing. And we truly, truly appreciate it. So again, that's blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks, let's talk a little bit about the conversation or the case that everybody is talking. First, you got Cat Williams letting the cat out of the bag. And now Black Hollywood is back at it again. We also had another major interview. There was Taraji P. Henson sitting down with Oprah Winfrey. And now Jonathan Majors is talking about his life with that case with his ex-girlfriend and that guilty verdict. Now, Mr. Majors, of course, has been cut from Marvel projects, and now he's in a space of uncertainty. So, you know, he wanted to get his story out. So he sat down with ABC News to just share his thoughts and his reactions to what has happened in court. And then the court of public opinion decided to respond. And I'm bringing my sister Dee Griffin, who serves as the anchor for WJBF Channel 6 in Augusta, Georgia. Dee, good to connect with you once again. How are you? Good afternoon.
Good. Happy New Year. It's so good to be with you again.
Happy New Year, Dee. All right, Dee, first and foremost, Jonathan Major going on a major news station, ABC News, to tell his side of the story. Good idea or bad?
Good idea. I mean,
okay.
All publicity is good publicity, right?
That's what they told me when I was in school, when I was going for this process, right? Like, oh, there's no such thing as bad PR. Then it's like,
no, get your side of the story out. I mean, and he's a major figure, so everyone wants to hear from him, and I applaud him for getting out there and talking. I mean, I'm thinking like the year 2024 has a lot in store for honesty and getting your word out and your truth out. So why not?
So how does that sway the court of public opinion though? Because here's one of the big pieces that people, I mean, he said a lot in his interview, right?
Mm-hmm. He did.
But but the one thing that people have kind of keyed in on was this Coretta Scott King reference. And it's not, I mean, given that we're like a week away from celebrating the great Dr. Martin Luther King for his holiday, but his inference of let's talk about Coretta Scott King, and more importantly, seeing himself in the light of MLK, I thought was very, very interesting. What do you make of that?
Well, my thing is everybody wants someone else to be what they are not going to be in return. So if you want to Scott King, you need to be a Martin. And Martin Luther King Jr. loved his wife. And I mean, he put her on a pedestal and treated her right. As far as we know, we hadn't heard anything otherwise. And I lived in Memphis for 8 years and I never heard anything otherwise. And I'm from Georgia and live in Georgia. And, I haven't heard anything otherwise. But he respected her, treated her very well, especially in public. And so if he wanted a Coretta Scott King, was he a Martin Luther King Jr. to his girlfriend? So that's the thing. The onus is always on, and I'm not getting on my feminism platform here, but the onus is on the woman to do all of this heavy lifting and support her man, my man. But it's like, what is the man doing to support her? I did like that he said he should have gotten out of the relationship sooner.
Right.
Would have alleviated a lot. It's not cute to stay in these toxic relationships. You don't get a gold star for, hanging in there with these toxic relationships and battling it out. You don't get a gold star for that. You don't get a pat on the back. You don't get a attaboy, y'all are together for 50 years, but you all had a knockdown, drag out the whole time. That's not cute. Get out before it gets to that level. When you have video of him running away from her for whatever reason, this was a toxic relationship on both ends. And so I think that, his admission that he should have gotten out of the relationship sooner was admirable, but I think it serves as an example of what could happen if you stay in toxic relationships too long. It can cost you your career, your livelihood, and it can cost you freedom because he is facing jail time possibly.
He is facing jail time, but here's the other thing. Is this the simple fact that and I don't know how this is going to play out, but, by him being the man, And by him telling his story, and he feels like, yes, I've taken accountability on some things, but then there were some other elements of this relationship that she was responsible for to add to the toxicity.
Right.
How do we have those conversations, going back to the point you just made, of how men should navigate or how men should handle toxic situations, right? And not continue to throw, add oil or add gasoline to the flame that is already happening.
Oh, use my line. I've used in the past. It's not you, it's me. We just, we really, I wanted us to work, but it's not you, it's me. This is not working out for either of us. It's best that we go our separate ways. I have yet to use that in the past, and it was successful. In my marriage, I didn't necessarily use that, and I think that takes the onus off of either person saying it was one person's fault or the other. Just go your separate ways. And I was giving advice to a friend recently, if the guy continues to hound you and want to talk with you, if you feel like this is not something for you, just tell him, look, I don't need to be in this relationship. And it's the best for both of us to back away and get out of the relationship and go our separate ways. Maybe we can be friends one day, but right now, this is just not for us. And that saves you a lot of headaches down the road. But both of them, it seems like they needed to get out of that relationship a long time ago. So it's sad that it came to this, but it was needed, Mm-hmm.
Well, and Big Brother Willie Frazier, you checked in. You said in the chat, Willie, you said, what did he do that was toxic? What did he do that was toxic? I need a receipt. And one of the things he admitted to doing, he said,
the text messages.
He said those text messages, D, and this might be the line of the year. He said, I was reckless with her heart.
Yes.
Not with her body.
Not with her body. But the thing is the heart, as a survivor of domestic violence, I would tell you the physical abuse was horrible, but that mental abuse and that heart pain, that takes a lot to get over. That's worse. I mean, somebody hitting you is bad enough, but when you're messing with somebody's mind and somebody's heart, that really messes with you. But then you could see it as well when you flaunt another woman out to say that I have a good woman now, and all of that, that hurts even farther. That hurts, that pains the ex-girlfriend even more. And Megan Good, I mean, she's one of my best friends in my head. Love me some Megan Good now.
Well, yeah. So how does she get out of the? I mean, some people will say that she was married to Vaughn Franklin, and people have thoughts about him and whatnot. But for her, is this a good look for her as a Black woman coming? Because I've seen some women say, of course a Black woman would come in to save a Black man from his own cells, try to clean up the mess. How do you think she looks at the situation?
Well, she sees his soul. She sees the good in him. Most people don't see the bad until they're faced with it up close and personal, and it's the two of you in that one room or that one situation. So no one comes out and says, oh, I see the bad in you. She sees the good in it. She sees the tears. She sees the I'm sorry and I'm repenting. So we can't necessarily blame her. It's a situation where a man and woman are caught together, and the ex-girlfriend or the wife catches the man and woman together. They always go after the woman. They don't go after the man who is the problem. Go after the man. Leave the other woman out of it, because yes, she shouldn't have been cheating with him, but it's not necessarily her fault. Yeah. But I do say, like I said, what we're not going to do is talk bad about Megan Good, because I like Megan. But this situation, as I said, in my situation, I've said it many times too, by me speaking out, I saved the other woman. Because everybody has heard from me and they saw what happened, and I'm speaking out. So the next woman, I saved her life, because he's got to prove that he's a good man. He can't go and knock her upside the head and dog her out like he did me, because then that will be pointing out that, oh, she was right. Look, America, she was right. So he's going to be the king that Megan Good deserves, because America's looking at this brother like, what you gonna do to Megan? Because we'll ride or die for Megan. Now we're gonna go okay, Megan, we coming. We're gonna take the earrings off. We're coming in the middle of the night. You know,
Right.
All of our black. We're gonna have our Vaseline, and we're gonna come fight for you. But he's gonna be up, and he's gonna be that king to Coretta now, to Megan, because everybody's looking at him. So it saved Megan. You know, she's seeing the good side of him. She's seeing the pure heart that the other woman didn't necessarily get to see.
I mean, which is possible. Mm-hmm. Which is very possible that one person can see the goodness and another person can see the challenges and the issues and the shortcomings. So it's certainly possible. Cindy D, you said, does Megan need accolades, though? They both have problems. She was also married to a pastor. Trying to be PR for each other don't work either.
And that's a good point, too. But we don't know what happened with her marriage. We don't know. They had a very amicable, seemingly divorce, and they refused to talk badly or put anything out. We don't know what happened between the two of them. Yes, that's true. He seems like a good guy. She seems like a good woman. We don't know. Only the two of them, and they're close friends and family now. We don't know. And she may be a woman who is the one who comes in and cleans everything up, and she sees the kindness and the love and all of that. She may be the good cleanup woman. And we just don't know. That's just the gentle heart that she has, or the kind heart that she has. We just don't know.
What does this mean? I know you got to get out of here to get you ready for your 4:30. Very last question, real quick. What is his fate in Hollywood at this point? He was dropped from Marvel. Some people said, who said this? I think this was Samantha. You made the point that even in the midst of all of this, he still doesn't deserve to lose his career over this. What's your take on that, D?
He has an opportunity to come back. He's gonna, if he comes out and goes on the apology tour, America's very forgiving. Hollywood is forgiving, as we've seen. If he has a chance to redeem himself, and I think the first step was coming out and talking about it, getting in front of things is crisis communications. I would tell him, get in front of it, speak your truth. Don't blame the victim, but speak your truth in everything. So I think that, somebody's calling me now to get on the air. I thank you so much.
I appreciate you, D. Thank you, D. Make sure y'all check it out, D. Griffin on WJBF in Augusta, Channel 6. Thank you, D. We appreciate you. Look forward to connecting with you soon.
All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. Wow. Just a little something from a media professional like the great D. Griffin. Thank you, D, for checking in. So many of you have shared your thought. Karen, my sister, you said, I disagree. A man can never go any farther than a woman will let them. If he is married, engaged, or long-term, he is not available. Good point. Excellent point. Brian, you checked in and said, Major should have just said Megan is a real one instead of Coretta. I like that one, Brian. I like that one too, man. Like, we don't have to bring in Mother Coretta into the conversation. I see what you're trying to do, Jonathan. But that was a different situation. That was a different situation. Just a little bit different situation. Cindy D, you said Megan got mad at women in her congregation, talking about they were the way she dressed as the pastor's wife. She was defensive. Come on, talking about her previous marriage to Devon Franklin. Again, I don't know all the details of that marriage, so I couldn't even speak on that, Cindy. But I couldn't imagine it would be easy for any woman, unless that's the path that she is willing to take. But if a woman comes to a man and he's a part of the cloth, he's a part of the ilk, and he has that calling on him, and she sees him, but she doesn't always necessarily is willing or is in agreement with the walk that's required to be with a man that's a part of the cloth. That could be a real problem. That could be a real problem, not just for her, for him too, because you love this woman, but you want to present yourself. You want to walk a different path than she does, and it could end up in. It doesn't have to be mean-spirited. It can certainly be an amicable situation, but I can imagine the type of strain that would put on any relationship. Let me just get one more in here. One more as we talk a little bit about this. You don't like my music. You said being broken up with is usually devastating, even if you don't love them that much. Our egos can't cope with that level of rejection. I don't have enough time to talk about that part, but I appreciate you don't like my music for posting that. And I think you are 100% right. And I think that it is important for both men and women to become emotionally mature and intelligent to be able to have those conversations. And the sad part about male-female relationships or any type of relationship, intimate romantic relationship, the sad part is that we don't even learn a lot of this stuff. And I'm saying in collective, a lot of us, it's a lot of trial and error. We see it in our parents' relationship. We may see it from our grandparents or aunts and uncles and those couples and families that are close to us. But I'm saying to sit down and actually have someone to talk to us about the ins and outs of that, right? And it's important for us to have those type of, I would say, mentors, those type of persons around us, that when we get into these serious long-term, whether they're marriages or long-term relationships, that we have people that we can go to, that we can bounce ideas off, that we can share with, and then essentially that will provide us with the wisdom and guidance to take us further along to make us better. But one of the things that I don't think that a lot of people are doing, I think there's only a few of us, is how many of us are actually sitting down to figure out how to have the best relationship with another individual? Do we read about relationships? Do we listen to people who can give us the ins and outs? Do we take the advice of those who have been down that road and have been successful, as well as the advice of those who have been down that road and have not been successful? Because they both can offer us something that we can hold on to. But to have that level of mental and emotional investment to make that relationship prosper is something I feel like is still a little sketchy, especially in this day and time where relationships have been reduced to being transactional interactions versus relationships that helps us to become better human beings, help us to think about another person in a much higher sense, and essentially help us to build a unit where we can start to really add to the community. So there are a lot of complexities to this, but looking at this Jonathan Major situation is going to bring up a lot of conversation. Looking at his relationship with his ex and with Megan Good, it's going to bring up a lot of conversations. And I think we should just need to be intelligent about having this discourse. All right, folks, look, got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, it is the beginning of the year. A lot of us may have had major conversations within ourselves about changing the way we look, about weight loss, about gaining, about going to the gym. But do you know that within the first 2 weeks of the year, those resolutions are made and broken? It doesn't take long now for us to break those resolutions. Well, we're going to be checking in with Dr. Catherine Toomer to give us some insight on how we can not just make the resolutions, but sustain the resolutions throughout the year. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. Welcoming our new watchers. If you're just tuning in, welcome to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. If you're tuning in on Roland Martin's YouTube page, Roland Martin Facebook page, or on the X platform, we truly appreciate you and thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. All right, folks, for our final discussion today, we wanted to talk about how you can get your mind and body right for the new year. But this is very easy, or is it? We know that these resolutions are often made at the beginning of the year. Every year we talk about this. But do you know that within the first couple of weeks of the new year, these resolutions are made and are broken and forgotten? And then we go back into the same old health, wellness, weight loss, gaining weight cycle again. So here to talk to us about how we can not just change our life, we can change our mindset, and more importantly, sustain the gains that we make is Dr. Catherine Toomer. She serves as the founder of Health, Wellness, and Weight Loss Center, LLC, and she's been doing a lot of work looking at weight loss and, more importantly, trying to figure out the best ways that we can keep our minds sharp and in shape to sustain us through this journey. Dr. Toomer, thank you so much for joining me here on The Culture. How are you this afternoon?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Just to let people know, because you gotta throw out credentials, Doc, when you're talking about having certain voices on, right? So you are a board certified family physician, hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programmer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Along with being founder of Health, Wellness, and Weight Loss Centers. And you really help people to look at how they can change their mental models around weight loss, right? Around living in a healthy and a much more well place. What would you say is the foundation for that? Where does that process start, Dr. Toomer?
The process starts in a lot of different places, but primarily in your head. Usually the most important weight we have to lose is often the weight in our minds, not the weight in our bodies. And usually once we remove that weight, then we're able to do all the rest of the weight follows. And so the most important thing is to believe in yourself, believe that you can do it, ignore the naysayers, and take your time, be patient. One of the biggest things that I see is people get impatient with the results. They want it quickly. And they see a lot of things online as people claim that they're losing 30 pounds in 30 days, or they claim that they, were able to get a 6-pack in 6 months. And, that may or may be possible, but not the weight loss. And so we often get impatient because we think our process isn't normal, when actually it is. And the other things you're reading are probably not true.
So we think that our process is not normal, and that we have a lot more in our head that we need to lose, more so than our bodies.
Yes. Mainly because we've internalized it. Many of us who feel like we need to lose weight, whether we do or we don't, have internalized a lot of the prejudice and shaming and the discrimination that comes along with being heavy. I've lost over 100 pounds, and I've kind of experienced both ends of the spectrum. And I can tell you, when people talk about thin privilege, it's real.
Wait a minute, hold on, Doc. You just threw out a new term that I have never heard of in my life. So you're going to have to talk to me like I'm a fifth grader at this point.
All right.
What? Thin privilege?
Thin privilege. Thinness in the United States is a currency. And those with that currency have a lot of it to spend. And basically what happens is they get a lot simply because of their privilege. It's because we've been programmed to be biased against anyone who's heavy. And it's one of the last places where we can discriminate and we can insult and not have the same ramifications if it's towards anybody else and for any other reason. You know, we will jump on somebody for racism, we'll jump on somebody for sexism, ageism even. But when it comes to fat phobia, we laugh.
So how did now you got me like speechless a little bit on this, Doc. But okay, thin privilege is a problem in this country, right? Yeah. And you saying that thinness is a currency as well, that a lot of people tend to use.
Yes.
Now, we're also in the age, and I'm sure you already know, but we're in this body positivity space.
Yes.
This body, and some people say it's a full-out movement where you accept just all of your flaws, your physical flaws, your imperfections. And how does that fit into what you're proposing that we need to do within ourselves?
Well, first of all, we need to stop describing them as flaws and stop describing them as imperfections. And then we'll be fine. Because if we keep looking at ourselves like something's wrong, then we'll constantly try to fix something that isn't wrong. That could be just our genetics, could be the way we're just built, you know, and just loving yourself where you are. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't want to get healthy and be healthy, but when you do, you let your body go where it goes. You know, there is no size for health. Health doesn't have a number. Health doesn't have a size.
Wait a minute, hold on. See, this is what I'm saying. I knew this was going to be a problem from the first time you opened your mouth. Hold on.
See, now, why does it got to be a problem, though? It's
hold on.
Enlightenment.
Hold on. No, this is too much enlightenment. I'm getting blinded right now, Doc. I'm getting a little blinded.
All right.
No. I love it. I absolutely love it. So let's go back to this point. And the only reason I'm stopping you is just because I think you're dropping some important jewels here. But let's go back to this point. You're saying that being healthy does not have a specific size and look.
No. I mean, you can be thin on crack.
Damn.
That doesn't mean you're healthy.
You just took it straight to the hood. Damn.
And I can tell you, and this is something, and I've seen her get a lot of backlash, and I've watched her, but I've watched Lizzo in concert.
Right.
And there is no way I could match her energy. There is no way I could match her ability to move the way she does and still have the breath to play the flute. That is health. Yet she keeps being shamed about her size when she's healthier than all of us. Because most of us could not move at that level and still be able to catch our breath enough to sing, enough to play a wind instrument, you know. But then you see people who are underweight and we're applauding them, but are they healthy, truly healthy? Not only just healthy physically, but psychologically and socially, because all that health is connected.
So what are we deluding ourselves when we look at the magazines and looking at, you know, like if you go on social media, sometimes when I scroll through social media, it's like, damn, what am I looking at here? Looking at these bodies that are, I mean, you know, you got the abs cut, you got the arms big, women are looking just so shapely and all of this stuff. And and you're wondering, and I mean, I think it's natural because we're human to wonder, like, damn, why am I not looking like that, right? And so are we deluding ourselves when we feed off of that to make us seem like, you know what, these people are in the best shape of their life? Mm-hmm. This is what health looks like. Are we deluding ourselves in that area?
Yes. I mean, representation matters. And so if we don't see ourselves represented in any shape or form, literally in any shape or form, then we have a misguided idea of what is considered normal. It's no different than, 20 years ago. I'm of an age, and I'm not going to tell you what that age is.
I was going to say about 50, but go ahead. Yes, ma'am. You want to tell us?
Thank you. You're my best friend.
Because you're looking good, Doc. You're looking good. Living life well.
So this is the thing. I remember a time when we never saw, first of all, a Black woman on screen, then a dark-skinned Black woman on screen, and definitely never one with natural hair. It is now normal to see natural hair represented in print, on television, and on videos, but we never saw that before. There was a time when we never saw that. And so natural hair was considered radical because we didn't see it. And the same thing is going to happen now. You're starting to see with commercials, like, I think there's a certain products now that specifically make sure that everyone is represented. There's other companies that do not touch up their photographs, and which is where I take my daughters to shop, because I know when we walk in, the images are going to represent them and look like them. Yes.
Yep. I see it. I think I know one of the companies that you talk about, big box retailer.
Yep.
And I've recently, it is so funny you said that, Doc. I recently went into the store and I looked on the wall. So I said, damn, they got all types of people represented in this campaign for these products, right? You have dark skin, you have people. I've seen people with spaces between my teeth. I have a little space, a little gap in my teeth, Doc. And for years, I was a little subconscious about it. And people are like, oh, no, it's so cute. It's good. You good. But I was in the back of my head like, man, I wish my teeth were a certain type of way.
Yeah.
And it plays on you.
And that's cultural, because I grew up in East Africa where a gap is considered beauty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they treat me like a king in East Africa?
Everybody would fall over themselves because of her. But one of the things that, also that happens, we age, our bodies change, our skin changes, stretch marks from having babies. I mean, we keep talking about abs. Most of us who've had children are never going to have the abs we had when we were 20, assuming we even had flat abs at 20. So, that's a mark of motherhood. I don't want to lose that, and I should be celebrated for it, not shame.
That's a real. That's a next level of body positivity right there, Doc. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to kind of get your take on from your recommendations on how do we move forward now that we talk about the mind. Let's work on the body on the other side, folks. I want you to join us in the conversation as we check in with Dr. Catherine Toomer. Post your comments on our Roland Martin's YouTube page, Roland Martin Facebook page. Let's have the conversation about how to get your mind and body right for the new year and keep it up. Stay with us. That conversation continues here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Faraji Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am checking in with Dr. Catherine Toomer, who is a board-certified family physician. She's a hypnotherapist, neuro-linguistic programmer, and founder of Health, Wellness, and Weight Loss Centers. And she is here to talk to us about how to get our mind and body right for the new year. Now, there are a couple of questions that some of our great Culture Crew members, Dr. Toomer, have posed. And one of them I think is very, very important. And I appreciate Daryl Whitaker. Daryl, welcome to the Culture. Welcome to the chat. Daryl said, how can we go natural in a chemical world? For poor people, everything that is healthy costs too much to buy. Oh my gosh, that is the dilemma. That is the Daryl. Thank you so much for checking in, bro. What's your take on that, Dr. Toomer?
It's a myth. It's not true. We've been told that because the people who manufacture those things want us to believe that so that we'll keep buying their products. However, a bag of dry beans costs less than a hamburger at McDonald's, yet it will feed 4 people. Hamburger feed 1, but you get a bag of beans and you cook them. That's more protein, healthier protein, and enough to feed a family. Add some brown rice to that. It can be named. It doesn't have to be name brand rice. It could be, the brand, whatever store brand that you're in.
Yeah.
And there you go. You go frozen vegetables, canned vegetables are better than no vegetables. Fresh vegetables can be expensive, but there are other vegetables that can be eaten and with almost the same amount of nutrients as the fresh. And in fact, sometimes they're better because when you cook certain vegetables in water, you lose a lot of the nutrients seep out into the water. So unless you drink the water, you're going to end up losing some of those vitamins anyway. But if you buy them frozen or if you buy them canned, they've been maintained. So it's a myth that it's expensive. It isn't. It's just a matter of creative and being and just looking in the right places for the food. And that means staying on the outside of grocery stores. All that processed stuff is in the aisles. If you stay to the outside, that's where all the freshest stuff is. And you can make a big pot of chili for under $10.
Something tells me you know how to make chili, Doc. Something just telling me.
Yep.
So, but you're saying like just invest in the basics. Get into the fresh vegetables. What about organic foods? And Daryl, I appreciate you for bringing that question up. Thank you. What about organic foods? Is that a myth too, or is that something that we should strive to purchase?
Organic is a myth too, mainly because there is no standard. There's a certain standard, but that standard doesn't necessarily mean healthier. And so if just because some pesticide hasn't been put on the plant doesn't mean the soil that it's grown in actually has the nutrients to get into that plant. And that's really what you're looking for. The nutrients from the soil have to go into the plant. That's the only place they'll get them. And so it's the quality of the soil that matters. Yes, pesticides can cause some issues. They change our hormones. They have disrupted a lot of things in our growth, in our how our body functions. But buying organic doesn't necessarily mean you've avoided those things. Now, there are some foods that absorb pesticides more than others. And you can look online. There's a whole, there's lists there. And then there's others that you can clean really well. So even if they have come in contact with pesticides, you can wash it off. And there's lists of that too. So organic, you're paying a lot for not a whole lot of benefit. It's better to eat more of something that's not organic than a third of something that is. Especially if you're trying to, if it means the difference between actually eating it or not eating it, better to eat it in a form that you'll actually get it and can afford it, and it doesn't cause you stress or strain to have.
Awesome. Now let's talk about the various diets that people have nowadays. You're talking about from being, and this is what I hear from a lot of our people, cannot digest fruit, milk, and lactose intolerant. We got gluten-free now. We got vegans now. We got vegetarianism now. So what is really happening that we go to these places? And I'm living in Los Angeles, so you have a lot of different foods being offered, a lot of different diets that are out there. But for some cities, like in Baltimore, that's still, going to a place, a completely vegan place. You could probably name it on one hand how many places are in Baltimore like that. So talk to us about that. How do we make sure that, if we find out that we're lactose intolerant, that our diet is going to be supported?
Apart from just the diet and the location of being able to find this information and find the products, many of us live in food deserts, so you can't even get access to any of it, let alone vegan. But truly, the best and healthiest way to eat is as close to plant-based as possible. Most people can tolerate pescatarianism, which is basically mostly plants with some seafood. It's when you start getting into the meats that are hormonally enhanced that we start having a little bit of a problem. And also because of the fat. It's the fat in the animal. I mean, when you consider that if you're eating an animal that's 10 times our size, and the natural hormones of that animal are going to make it grow to 10 times our size, and then added hormones to make that animal grow 10 times its size faster, and we consume it. I mean, imagine what it does to our body. So it really causes an issue, mainly because of hormones. And so the farther you can get away from hormones and hormone dysregulation and hormone disruption, the better. And so plants are the best way of doing that. Except with soy. Now, soy can cause some changes in estrogen, but you have to consume quite a bit. And, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but, so plant-based is best. And then clean meats are best if they're, hormone-free and they're grass-fed. But then, of course, that costs. Again, so
absolutely
the cost of foods. And so really the best way to eat is the healthiest that you can for where you are.
The healthiest that you can for where you are. We got another question about Ozempic. Talk to us about Ozempic and Mounjaro Talk, and how does this, let me see, this question is about Ozempic, and we're talking about semaglutides
and Mounjaro.
Yeah, are they bad?
No, they've been given a bad rap, but they're not bad.
Okay.
These medications, the type of medications, have been out for almost 20 years. We've been using them for many, many, many years for diabetics. Nobody had a problem with it until we started using it for weight loss. And then all of a sudden, everyone started pushing their fat bias onto the process. And so now we have to fight to get the medication for people who actually need it to prevent them from becoming diabetic. Weight gain is primarily on the same hormonal continuum as diabetes, but we can't treat it. We can't get the medication for people until they become diabetic. Now, fortunately, we do have weight loss versions of the medication, but they're almost impossible to get in affordably. And so many people are going the compound route. And of course, when you do that, then that's when a lot of the scammers come in, and because they can sell you anything and say it's whatever it is. But there are some reputable pharmacists who do produce compound medications, but You know, they're good medications and they work well and they are lifesavers, because many of us who have been overweight know that our appetite is actually being driven by glucose dysregulation. Our cravings are driven by glucose dysregulation. Our fat production is driven by glucose dysregulation, and these medications stop all of it.
And some people would say that if you are eating correctly, if you are exercising, that you wouldn't need help from any outside source to regulate your body. Is that true or false?
That is very false. Because genetics plays a huge role in how our body treats food. And so, and you can see it. I mean, that's like saying everybody who runs can be a marathon runner. Not all runners can be marathon runners. Not all runners can be sprinters. Some of us can't do either. You know, so it's the way your body is made. You cannot discount how our bodies are made and how that affects what food does in our bodies.
We got like a minute left in this, Doc. I wanted to kind of get an opportunity to hear from you. What are some of the exercises, the physical things that we can do that will help us to kind of sustain us? I mean, everybody, I don't know, like in LA, it seems like every other person goes to the gym 4 to 8 times a week, Doc. Everybody lives in the gym, right? And I'm like, damn, do I need to go to the gym more? Like what is this all about, right? Because that's the culture here. But what's your take on that? Like, how much physical exercise can the body take? And how much should we actually do to get into a healthy place where we're not gymming it up to the point where we're disrupting the natural regulation of our own bodies?
Well, you start from where you are. Going too far, too fast is just going to cause injury. So really, if planks, squats, and push-ups will tone your body from head to toe. Any variation of that is helpful. And you start from where you are, you go low, start low, go slow, and you build over time. Where you are now won't be where you are 6 months from now. And so it's just, you build on it, but you just simply cannot jump too far because you will get injured, and then it defeats the whole purpose, and it doesn't help anyone.
No, it doesn't help anyone at all. Doc, I want to give you an opportunity for folks to get more information, because you have a Total Weight Care Institute. You have a number of programs. You have your health centers, health, wellness, and weight loss centers. So how can people get more information about that?
The best way is just to contact me through my website, which is drtoomer.com. That's drtoomer.com. And contact me there, and someone will get in touch and go from there.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Doc, I got to bring you back.
All right.
I mean, I just had too much fun with you. So you sound like you're so good for the culture. Like,
yeah. All right.
We need somebody to help us to understand this stuff, because there's a lot of conversation about health and wellness, and I don't think we can have too many discussions and conversations about this. I mean, Black America, as you know, we're suffering. Yes. We're suffering from a lot of sickness, right?
And information that doesn't pertain to us and how we do things and how we are built and how we are how we function as a people. And we need it has to be culturally specific. It's very culturally specific. It needs to be.
And I appreciate you mentioning that, because we have another doctor, Dr. Bridget, that comes on and talks to us about health and wellness as well. And one of the things that we often talk about is, like, I mean, and this is, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but being Black in America has a different set of challenges that it does to the mind and to the body, unlike being a white person in this country or a Latino person in this country, right? Absolutely. So we, like, you going back to the point you just made, we need culturally specific recommendations on how to get to a better healthy and wellness space in this country. So, your insight would be very much needed. So I appreciate you today, Doc, for coming on and being a part of the conversation here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. Dr. Catherine Toomer, she is the founder of Health, Wellness, and Weight Loss Centers. She is a board-certified family physician. Check her out on her website at drtoomer.com. That's drtoomer.com. blackstardnetwork.com for more information. And especially if you are struggling and you're trying to figure out, well, how do I start this journey? You may have made this resolution at the beginning of the year, and now you're starting to feel like you've fallen off the bandwagon. Dr. Toomer is here to help you, especially as being a part of her Total Weight Care Institute. Y'all heard what I said? It's not about weight loss. It's about weight care.
Yes.
That's the difference. That's a difference.
Absolutely.
It's a difference. All right, Dr. Toomer, thank you so much for being so good for the culture. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you, my fantastic online culture crew that's checking in on Facebook, that's checking in on the X platform, and it's, of course, checking on Roland Martin's YouTube page. If you enjoyed the show and you appreciated the content, please make sure you do your due diligence. Go to our website today. Download the app at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free on all your devices. Follow us on social media. And we actually put something in the bucket because we want you to sustain us. That's right. This is an investor-oriented process. This is the model that we use for Black Star Network, where, as Brother Roland has said time after time, that, you know what, we should have the conversations, we should have the news, but we don't need someone else to pay for it. We want you to be an investor and a stakeholder in this process. So go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks, big shout out to my production team, for Chris and Lise for making today's show possible, my man King Keenan. And of course, I thank you once again. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow with my sister Suzette Speaks for another exciting conversation right here on The Culture, right here on only here, exclusively here on the Black Star Network. And big shout out to all of our people who are in the midst of this weather situation. Please be safe, folks. Take care of yourselves. Check on your loved ones. Check on the elders in your neighborhood and check on the elders in your family. Let's continue to pray that everyone comes through these storms safely. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.